welcome back to a very sunny episode of Bands Beers FPL. I'm only going to release for about 2 minutes because I'm an absolute tool. So, so thanks for joining us once again. Now we've got our game week 1 reaction. Excited after all that build up. How did it go? For me, it was a bit of a not an anticlimax, but it wasn't as good as I was expecting, which I knew was going to happen. I'm quite happy with. But anyway, while we're here, it's Bands Beers FPL. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at Bands Beers FPL, at Bands Beers FPL.
And like and subscribe to YouTube. Thanks to everyone that's been doing that so far. The numbers are slowly climbing, so let's get them a wee bit higher. Thank you.
It's all good. Every number counts. Currently up to about 333 followers on Twitter, which is good. Good to see everybody, and thanks for joining us. So we're going to get straight into this one. We'll do the band first, on the beer, and then we're going to do our week 1 reaction. Mixed fortunes, I would say, as usual. In fact, I think you've started slightly better than me, which is quite unusual. Usually I'm going to take a bit of an early lead and then you catch me later, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, so bands for this week, what have we got?
Band, yeah, we'll be brief on this one so we can get into the meaty game week 1 chat. A band, I've had quite a few bands on this so far that have been quite unknown, so we're going for one that a lot of people might know. Goldfinger, ska punk band from California that have been around since like the 90s. And I just absolutely love them. So the reason I'm talking about them now, like a lot of people maybe know them for like their cover of 99 Red Balloons. Brilliant band, really, really entertaining. But they recently just brought out a deluxe version of their recent album, Never Look Back, which came out last year, I think. So it says 2022 because that's the deluxe version. But to my surprise, like I love this album anyway, it's great. There is a version of Here in Your Bedroom, one of their older songs with Avril Lavigne on it. And I thought, that's quite cool, a bit different. It's all right. But then, boom, we've got Superman, one of their best tunes with Simon Neil from Biffy Clyro. Like,
amazing.
Biffy are one of the biggest and best bands in Scotland. And that collaboration just came out of nowhere for me. Mate. I was just like, definitely, man, I'm a huge fan. But I was like, Goldfinger and Biffy, the collaboration I would never have thought would have happened. But it must be something to do with Biffy record quite a lot over in California. There must be some sort of relationship built there. But for anyone that likes a sort of ska punk and stuff like that, or even likes Biffy Clyro, like definitely worth checking out. That album is front to back bangers, and then this deluxe version's got a few cool wee things on it. A new version of 99 Red Balloons as well, which is worth checking out. So Goldfinger, been around for a while. They're band of the week for me.
I got my sunglasses back on for that sunny selection there because Goldfinger, an old favourite of mine, took me back to the summers and not so youth actually probably, but yeah, banging, absolutely banging. What about beers? I've gone fairly interesting, a little pink siding to match my sunglasses. If you can see it, terrible. It's a Pom Pel Mocello, can't even pronounce it. Just a grapefruit sour IPA, perfectly refreshing, exactly what you need on a warm sunny day.
Sounds like we've got a theme going with like fruity IPAs and sours and stuff like that. So I've got Creek, I guess it's called, nice. Cherry beer from 6 North. I've had this a few times recently. Like, it's not advertised as like a sour or a saison, it's just as a cherry beer. But it really reminds me of, I don't know if you remember the Blitz series that Brewdog done. It was quite a while ago. They done it. It was when they were first getting into sour beers before they had the Overworks brewery. So they would have like a Bramble Blitz, and then it would be raspberry and it would be cherry and stuff like that. And it was just so nice. They were always quite low percentage, maybe like 2 or 3%. And I loved getting them with one of them, and then maybe get like a wee third Imperial Stout and just balance between the two of them. This really reminds me of that. It's not quite as sour or as tart, but it's 6%, I think. You'll see it somewhere. Can't see it, so let's not waste time. But 6 North Creek Cherry beer, you can get it in supermarkets.
Actually, 6 Degrees North are a cracking brewery. Definitely recommend if you come across them. I think you get them in, like, is it Aldi or Lidl? One of the two. Definitely worth checking out if they're ever on one of their craft beer promotions. Great brewery. And if you're up in Scotland, get a chance to try them. Cannot recommend them enough. All right, so just going to jump straight in to laugh at my team and my terrible choices. And I'll go first because I don't think I'll take too long to
also
limit
my team. Let me just make sure I've got the right screen. Right, okay. let's have a look at Sean's game week 1 result. So 61 points, just over the 3 million mark. Rank doesn't matter at this point at all, really. So yeah, how are you feeling?
Actually, not bad. I'm quite prosaic about it. Like, I quite enjoyed game week 1. It was good fun. I don't know why. I was saying this on Twitter. I don't know why I fall into the Kane trap every season. He's and I say this nicely, right? And I know he'll end up with hundreds of points, and he's a great pick and all that. But I hate him as a FPL player. Every time I pick him, he trolls me. He doesn't do what I need him to do, and then of course, after that, 4 goals, you're expecting some kind of return, and then nothing happens. And then what happens on the Sunday, or Saturday, sorry, Sunday when Alan steps up and just absolutely looks different class, which I was mildly expecting, but I just wasn't sure how quickly he'd hit the ground running, which a lot of people have been saying. So I know it's not just me, but yeah, that's definitely getting rectified as one of my transfers this week. I think probably my only transfer, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, so like your team, I think, done pretty well. Like, considering there is some people we've seen in our leagues that have like the double Liverpool defence and didn't have Salah or didn't have any scoring midfielders. So there's people sort of down to sort of 40 or 50 points. To have 61 is good for the first week. I mean, I think I was going to I set a benchmark of at least 60 and sort of aim for 80 and ended up with 69. So it's good, man. A good start.
No, I'm quite happy. I know I'm quite happy. I think, like Matt said, my picks. I'm really happy with Rico Henry. It was a bit of a gamble, probably one of the ones that I knew it was going to be a gamble, and actually it paid off. Happy with Diaz. Would have liked maybe if I could have got an attacking return, would have been amazing. James, quite happy with. I think he had 3 shots in and about the box. He seemed quite getting forward, quite attacking. I think he'll be a good player going forward. I'm really happy with that. Defence actually served me really well. Kind of disappointed. Obviously Liverpool started really slowly. Disappointed that my Saka maybe didn't get given that goal. Mm-hmm. Although technically it definitely was an own goal, Jesus, I mean, I was expecting him to hit the ground running. I'm not worried. Like, I think he's going to come good. Mm-hmm. He'll be a cracking pick. I'm quite happy with that.
He did look good.
It was okay.
He didn't get any attacking returns, obviously, as we can see, but he was so lively. Like, he just looks sharp. So it just takes for him to just get the chances, and he'll start to convert goals. I thought he looked really good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, overall quite happy. I mean, you said Bailey. Let's correct that. Bailey and Mount both did it. I mean, Bailey. I think Villa were just terrible, not really comfortable. But I think they'll get better, hopefully, going forward, especially against Everton, who they tend to do well against. And then Mount, he'll get better as well. I think his heat map didn't inspire much confidence, and he didn't play his best. But I still think Mount will come good. Another one. What about you? How did your game week go? Clearly better than mine.
69 points, so just a wee bit better. Nothing to set the world alight. Like 1.5 million, fine. We've got quite a few similar players, obviously, that you just touched on. Like James, I was going to say there, I was very impressed that he managed to get booked, but he still managed to get the 2 bonus points. So that just shows how much attacking flair he was still having, and his defending, obviously, as well. I'm happy to still have him, but there's just little warning signs. Just, I think, been hearing a little bit of the pace that Chelsea showed at the back with Thiago Silva, Koulibaly, and Azpilicueta being the back 3. James could maybe slip into the right centre-back position just to give a bit more pace, especially against Spurs on Sunday, to counter against like Son. So I don't know, I'm going to actually kind of watch his space. Like, I kind of worry about him. They've got great fixtures, but he's maybe one that I might move on at some point. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But apart from that, I fell into the same trap as you, Harry Kane. I just fell for the fixture. I had Haaland in my team most of the week, most of the summer, and I had Kulusevski instead of Mount. So things could have been a lot different for me. But you can't really dwell on these things. Like, it is what it is. And yeah, we've got this
fine margins.
I know, so fine. Like, I'm quite happy with my defence. So I get 3 7-pointers, 3 clean sheets, and 1 bonus point for Cancelo, Trippier, and James, and a clean sheet for Ramsdale as well. It could have went a lot worse. Like, a lot of people, as I said, had the double Liverpool, 1 point each. I had Martinelli over likes of Saka. Obviously scored his goal. I would have liked to have had Zinchenko. He looked really, really good, but I've got the triple Arsenal already. So Yeah, I'm quite happy with it as it is, and Kane just being the only problem. I want to get him over to Haaland. Everyone else is sort of like wait and see. Like I'll give Mount some time, like you said. Bailey, swithering whether I'll play him this week. He might be someone that's on the radar to go in the next couple of weeks, but I'm quite happy with the fixtures that my bench have got. So strong enough start. Yeah, as I said, I was kind of looking for like 60 points or above. So pretty good, happy enough with that. And Salah captain was obviously the right pick.
Always a right pick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I actually never? There was one draft, or maybe quite a few drafts actually. I didn't have Salah in my team, but you just have to. I think like game week one we were talking about. Sometimes you just have to be. You go with the old reliable and pick the players that you think will get the returns. But like as it Sun Tzu says, no plan of attack ever meets the survives meeting the enemy. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was going to be a tough one, but I'm quite happy. I mean, I think above average was what I was aiming for. Wee bit of ground to make up already, but nothing that's unassailable. So yeah, going forward, quite happy. Team looks fairly set. What about transfers? My only transfer this week that I'm definitely going to make, we've spoke about. And I know you've pretty much made the same one, but I think we're both going Kane to Haaland, and we both did it before the price change, the price rise as well. Yeah.
I don't even need to like beat about the bush and say thinking about it. It was done by about 6 o'clock on Sunday night. Like just the fear of the price change. I left $1 million in the bank anyway for something like a price change to cover it, but I'm glad I done it because didn't get caught with the Kane -1 and then the Haaland plus. So yeah, Kane to Haaland, the captain. I guess we'll discuss that. That's still up for debate, but yeah, I've not taken any hits or anything. Quite happy with the rest of the team. Bailey, if he doesn't play, the bench is okay. I might even switch Bailey out and put him on the bench if there's stronger rumours that he might not be playing. But yeah, that's it. Simple. Kane to Haaland, like probably 90% of the FPL population that didn't already own Haaland will be doing that, I think.
Yeah, I think talking about transfers, I think I've been watching a lot of other content creators, and most of the chat is just around Haaland being the most sort of transferred in for most people. I think we're going to talk a little bit about players we like, but yeah, this week I think there's only one real transfer to make. If you don't have Haaland in your team already, switch Kane for Haaland, and then the other option would be to roll it. If you've got Haaland already, then take the luxury of having a transfer to roll, which gives you 2 transfers getting into next game week, I think, unless your team is really struggling and you need something.
I have one point that I've seen, Gianni Baptiste, forgive me for not knowing how to pronounce his surname. I follow him a lot. He's really, really great content creator for FPL. He had Haaland and Kane at the start of the season, and he shifted Kane out for Darwin Núñez. And I'm just like, that's such a good position to be in. Like, obviously, a lot of people that maybe done the Kane and Haaland are just going to hold Kane because he's more than capable of scoring against Chelsea. Good round of fixtures from game week 3, but it's such a good, bold, ballsy move. I love it. Like, not many people are going to be able to fit in Darwin Núñez now because they've got Haaland or Kane or whatever, and the money spread elsewhere. He's in a good position. I like it. I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah, definitely. So I think up next we've got we'll put together like the 5 teams with the best fixtures over the next couple of weeks. Put together our amazing budget graphic there that I put together in about 5 minutes. Yeah, I think if you've got players from any of these 5 teams in your squad, I think you're laughing all the way to the bank. I think going forward, Man City, Liverpool. I don't even. We can't even count Liverpool's game week 2 fixture as a red anymore. I just think Man United look shockingly bad. So, yeah, I think over the next couple of weeks, if you have any of these teams quite heavily in your, I mean, I don't think I suspect a lot of people won't have Brighton players unless they've been listening to us talking up Trossard. But yeah, if you've got the majority of these players, double or triple Arsenal, double or triple Liverpool, Man City assets like Haaland, we already spoke about defence. Midfield, we can definitely talk about that in transfer. I think if you've got predominantly these teams, I think you're going to do well going forward over the next couple of weeks. It's worth keeping an eye on the fixture ticker just to look at which teams have got good games going forward, and it's a great example of 5 teams that I'm quite happy. I'm pretty loaded with.
Yeah, I like it, man. Yeah, we don't need to talk about Arsenal, Liverpool, and Man City because they talk about themselves anyway. Like Brentford and Brighton, what a good start, obviously, for Brighton. We were touting them, but I think a lot of people didn't go for Brighton players, and us included, because of the Man United away. I had a wee inkling in my head. I was like, they could get something here, but I didn't expect them to do as well as they did. And then Brentford, although they didn't get a win, like they came back and got a draw from 2-0 down away to Leicester. Like that's an excellent result. They'll feel that was a win. And then Brentford's fixtures are obviously looking great. I would like you said, like Man United games don't seem to be a red anymore. I think Brentford can get something against them at home. And then that run there is just brilliant. It's a lot of teams that have shit goals. And Brentford have just signed Mikkel Damsgaard from Sampdoria, Danish winger that scored a cracking free kick against England in the Euros last year. So he's come in at 5.5 million. I don't think it'd be worth. I wouldn't jump on him just yet. He might not be straight in at the starting lineup, but maybe by 3-4, he's going to be on radars. And then Brighton, Gross, what a player, like popping up there. And I put some money on him to score first and won a few quid, and that's because Mopey wasn't on the pitch and Gross is the second penalty taker. And then you could just sort of see by the way they were lining up that he was far more advanced than the likes of Trossard and March, I think it was. So he looks like a great shout. Trossard was the one that was on my radar. I was like, game week 2 or 3, I want to get him in. But for $1 million cheaper, and if Welbeck keeps leading the line instead of Mopey, then you've got possibly a penalty taker there, like 5.5 million. So Brighton, Brentford should be on everyone's radar.
Yeah, definitely like it. So we're never going to just do a quick fire question round for me and you. I think we're just going to go through and do maybe 5 questions. We'll just keep it light and brief, just to kind of talk a little bit about transfer strategy, how we felt game week 1, sum it all up. So let's go first off. Players you're glad you avoided. So I'll start this one off. I think I'm really glad in game week 1 that I avoided Neto. Maybe possibly you should have been avoiding Bailey as well, but quite content to see that my Wolves aversion sort of paid off a little bit. I mean, I do think a few people have said he looked good. I think your pick, Podence, who you'd been touting for weeks, it actually paid off as well. I bet you're sad you didn't take him.
Yeah, quite fancied him, but yeah, I kind of went off Wolves for the start, but yeah, he wanted to get 10 points, didn't he? So excellent start, man.
Yeah, would have been good. Yeah, and I think they've just signed Guedes. Is it from one of the big Spanish teams? Big fan of that, but again, I'm not 100% convinced in him. I think Cody will be quite a big loss as well. I know he wasn't playing at the weekend, but Cody going to Everton will be quite a big loss for them. So I'm not. The jury's out. I'm sure I'll be proven wrong, and people will be happy when I am. But yeah, I'm glad I avoided him. What about you?
Well, Neto's kind of won as well, but I mean, I do think he's still got the opportunity to get some points. But for me, I think it was Andrew Robertson. I mean, going through the season, he will be brilliant, but I was really swithering between him and Reece James. Either having James and $1 million in the bank or having Robertson, and I went for James. He got 7 points. Robertson got 1. I've still got the money in the bank. So, yeah, I mean, it's not the kind of player I would be like avoid him because he's going to be brilliant this season. But I'm quite glad I never went for that because I would have been feeling pretty low.
Cool. And then the second question, players you're happy with. So I think for me going forward, really happy with my Arsenal picks. I think Jesus, like you say, looks sharp. Definitely will get the turns. Fancy him to do a lot going forward. I think he'll start picking up goals as he goes. Really happy with Saka. Looked great. Got the 6-point return. Could have and should have had more. Quite happy with that. Yeah, I mean, I think that the only other one I really want to mention is probably Mason Mount. Not his best game by any example, like in a Chelsea shirt, but I think again he's another that will start to hopefully pick up and start playing quite well. I was gutted that Jorginho was on the pitch. Otherwise, I think I actually got quite excited because I forgot Jorginho was on the pitch. The Mount might have got that penalty, but yeah, it didn't materialise sadly.
Yeah, it's interesting to see who would have taken it because Havertz has got a case for it as well. So, but I think Mount probably is the second choice for penalties. So, yeah, I'm the same with him. I'm going to keep him. What were we saying? Player that we're happy with?
Yeah.
Outside the sort of obvious, like in Martinelli, we're quite happy with him, but I think that he was quite a big pick. Trippier, I'm probably quite happy with. Like, thought that was a good display. He was looking looking lively. Like his free kicks and his crosses always look good. So I think he's going to be a good asset to own. Even in the kind of tougher games, I think he can get some points. So Trippier and Martinelli, like the same as you, like my 3 Arsenal players, pretty happy with. Jesus looked good, even though he didn't get a return. Martinelli got me one, so did Ramsdale. So Arsenal boys and Trippier, I think.
Yeah, I like to look at that Newcastle team. I wish I'd maybe got a little bit into them, but I'm definitely keeping that going forward. I've got a couple of options that I like, and I'll be keeping an eye on Newcastle. I think over the next couple of games, maybe I've got a few more transfers. I've got 1 or 2 players that I'd quite like, mainly Bruno, Trippier, another one, and then Callum Wilson. All looked great, so quite happy with it. Cool. Players you want. So I've just mentioned, obviously, Bruno. Bruno G. I think Bruno Guimaraes, or how you say it, he looks great. Like he's playing like a really like a number 10 essentially, for even though he's meant to be playing defensive midfield. He looks great. He gets good attack. I can see him getting attacking returns going forward. Definitely fancy him. The other player that I'd really like is Nunes. I think he looks pretty good. I think like coming on, I mean, we were talking about the old stats idea. What was it? Expected goals without penalty or something. He was highest for it without his. The only time he was on for 25 minutes. But I think just the eye test, he looked great. It looked like he is just going to add an absolute other element to Liverpool's attack. I'm surprised Klopp keeps starting with Firmino. I know why he does it, but I think if Nunes starts that game, that's an entirely different game for Liverpool. I think I think Fulham probably still would have scored, but I fancy Liverpool to win 3 or 4-2 if Nunes starts. But I think going forward, he's one that I'm hopefully looking possibly get a team. I don't know where I'm going to fit him in, but he's definitely one I'm interested in. And then the other one is mine and your favourite loanee for Tottenham, Kulu. The ideal way to get into that Tottenham attack, man. If you don't have Kane and you don't have Son, I think Kulusevski looks like a very, very, very good third option that going forward is going to do some spectacular things. I would 100% have him on your watch list. If you don't have him already, keep an eye on him. Get ready to get him in if you can. I think he's going to do big things this season.
Stole my picks, man. That's why I was laughing. Like, Nunes was my first one, and then probably Kulusevski. Like, Nunes, I'm one of the points I want to say about him that you didn't really cover, like how to fit him in. Like, I think down the line, I don't mind maybe getting rid of Gabriel Jesus, and just maybe try to get Saka in instead of Martinelli, like sort of downgrade the Mount, free up some money to be able to put Nunes in instead of Jesus. So I think it's doable to get him in. If you want to go with Alan Jesus and Nunes, then that's a different chat. Like, it's probably quite hard and it'll dismantle your team a bit. Kulusevski spoke about, and I think I really, really do want him. Outside of that, we've already spoke about them, the Brentford and Brighton assets, like Damsgaard, I want to give like a week or two, but even outside of him, Tony at 7 million's looking great for those fixtures. Wemo as well, and even Risa as well, like if you want one of the attacking players. But we spoke about last week Brentford's defence too. Like, I just feel like I want to get at least one in, maybe 2. You've got Rico Henry already, so Henry, Hickey, Jansen, kind of want to go for one of them at some point over the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then at that point, maybe look at Damsgaard, great price. So Brighton and Brentford boys outside of Nunes and Kulusevski are 2 of the kind of more obvious ones, but brilliant picks, like on the radar.
Yeah,
big time.
Definitely keep an eye on Brentford. I definitely think they've. I mean, it depends on how they play the Man United game. I think if they go out to the Man United game and smash Man United form-wise, I would definitely be keeping an eye on them and maybe looking at getting some of the players in. All right, players you maybe don't want that everybody else seems to want. I think for me, number 1's Martinelli. I know for a fact he's going to go out and keep scoring, and I'm going to have egg on my face. But I think I worry that Arsenal are still in the market for what appears to be an attacking midfielder. There's rumours around Madison still swirling. I know we spoke about this before, but I do worry that he'll be the player on the team that gets sacrificed if someone else comes in, or at least he'll have his game time reduced. That's the only thing that I'm kind of looking at. I don't think I want Martinelli, and I'm really happy with Saka, so I don't need another Arsenal mid. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy with Martinelli for now. Like, I think we did speak about that last week. Like, if things start to turn around where, like, there's other options, they might not stay in the team, then yeah, I'll get rid of him and look for maybe Zinchenko or Saka. But like players, I don't really know actually. I haven't really thought about this one like, that people are really raving about and going about, because I think all the kind of main ones I'm quite keen on. I think probably the Spurs wing back situation. I just don't trust it. I think they're all great options, but I just don't trust any of them from either side to hold down that position yet. Whether it's Perisic, Doherty, Sessegnon, Emerson, Reguilon, Jed Spence. Like, we've said this before, like, I just think it's a dangerous trap. Like, I don't want to be spending the kind of money you need to spend on someone like Perisic and then end up he's no starting, or he does start but he only plays like 55 or 59 minutes and doesn't get your clean sheet points. So I'm not fussed about jumping on the Spurs defence yet. Kulusevski 100%, but the defenders, that's who I'm not really fussed about.
Cool. Players you wish you had gone early on. So for me, other than Haaland, obviously we're both going to say Haaland. I think we mentioned Kulu, but one of the other players that I really wish I had on my hit list going forward is Zinchenko. And I wish I'd maybe stuck to my guns a wee bit on it and tried to get him in somewhere. I think Tierney comes back. Tierney for me is a brilliant left back. I think if he stays fit, he'll be cemented as a left back. But what I'm excited about is Zinchenko being pushed forward. So playing a wee bit further forward will do him wonders. And I think he, again, is another one in Arsenal's team that I fancy to do some real good points returns. So yeah, I wish I'd maybe gone earlier on him, but I'll definitely be keeping an eye on him and trying to get him in at some point.
Man, I was talking about him on most of our videos, but I ended up not going for him because I went for Ramsdale. I thought he's going to be my set and forget goalkeeper, and that's me into Arsenal when I went for midfielder and a striker. But if I end up removing Martinelli or Jesus or something, that could free up a good Arsenal triple up for the start. Would have been Ramsdale, Zinchenko, and then one of Saka, Martinelli or Jesus. But there was obviously question marks about Zinchenko where he was going to play, but I agreed, man. Like I said before, whether he plays at left back or in midfield, he's going to be a point grabber. Bonus points, he's going to get assists and stuff and get goals. Like, man, I definitely, I wish I'd jumped him. The obvious ones obviously were Haaland and Kulu. I think other than that, I really was quite keen on Kyle Walker. I just thought he's obviously nailed for a few weeks. We've spoke about him. And it's such a cheap way to get into the defence. Like, I wish I had him this week. I can't see anything past a City clean sheet. And for 5 million, like, he would have been great in there instead of maybe Reece James, who's costing me 6. And I'm worried about where he's going to play. And obviously they're up against Kane and Haaland and Kulusevski, so I don't know if Chelsea are going to get clean sheet. But that's the kind of game that maybe has a bit of a 0-0 written all over it. We'll see. But yeah, I think Walker's one that I did have my eye on. I would love to have owned him now for this wee run. Because even if they do sign another left back or a right back and they move things about, I don't think they will straight away. I think he'll be nailed for the next 3 weeks, I think, at least. So, Kyle Walker.
Brilliant. So just to raise 2 extra points before we go into the captaincy issue. For me, I think Chelsea against Spurs will be all right because Chelsea's Spurs bogey team. So I think looking back, I think Spurs will tend to struggle against Chelsea. So I'll be interested to see if that's reversed. I don't think it will be. I think Chelsea should take something, and whether that's a draw or a win, I'm not sure. But I still fancy Chelsea to get some decent returns. So I wouldn't be too stressed about that. The other one I want to make is I've seen a few people talking about taking hits and in terms of transfers and things like that. But I would possibly suggest if you're really struggling with your team and you're not really happy with it, don't take hits and just play a wild card. Like, I just can't see, you've got a wild card early enough this season that you get a second kind of unlimited transfers during the World Cup. If you are really struggling over the next couple of weeks and you're taking -8s and -8s, sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and realise that, okay, it's annoying that you won't have a wild card for maybe 10 weeks, but at the same time, like, it's much better than just firefighting for a few weeks on end before you can do anything. I think just probably something I would suggest, just that if people are maybe struggling a wee bit with there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there before. I've done hits right at the start. I think I played a game week 2 wildcard before when things just went tits up and I wasn't happy with my squad whatsoever. So it's fine if you've got maybe 3 or 4 players that you've gone wrong. I don't know how it happens at this early in the season. Like, follow all these pages, it's kind of obvious who to go for and who to avoid. I think everyone does start around the same. If it's that bad, it's not a terrible thing to go for it, to do the wild card. But I would try and avoid taking hits now. Like you're saying, there's people doing 4-point hits and 8-point hits to get rid of Bailey or Neto or Gabriel Jesus just because they didn't score in game week 1. Like, you picked them for a reason. They've obviously been inspired and they've been really good through pre-season and a good price, and they fit in your team structure. So I just think give players 2 weeks at least, maybe 3, the ones that aren't performing, apart from Kane, but that was because of the fear of not owning Haaland. That we all had to do that. So yeah, I would try and avoid it for like the first 2, maybe 3 weeks taking hits. I'm kind of jealous of people that are going into next week with 2 free transfers. The people who already owned Haaland and the rest of their team's sitting quite nice. Like, it's a good position to be in, but hits, just try and avoid it for the first few weeks. Just let your team settle and see what's happening with it, and don't panic. Definitely don't panic.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, like I keep saying, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So take your time, a wee bit of patience will pay off. Like, I know it can feel like the end of the world if you're losing ground in your leagues or whatever. But take your time, see how the lay of the land goes. Next week, certain players can blank. Kane might go mental next week, and Haaland, touch wood, hopefully doesn't happen, doesn't score or it's taken off, whatever. That these things do happen. So give yourself a bit of time. But yeah, don't be taking hits so early. Like, try and, if you can, and you're really struggling, either try and go for the patient approach and let your players run, or if you really are desperate and you want to get into a better position, wait until after game week 2 when you see the lay of the land a wee bit better, and then maybe shift into a wild card and just take your wild card hit, because 8 weeks with that wild card is not the end of the world, especially with this World Cup looming. The opportunity there later on is to really do something useful with your wild card. It means that I think this season is probably one of the best ones for playing an early wild card. So yeah, if you do feel like you're struggling and you're worried about it, go for it. I mean, I just think rather than taking a -8 or a -12 over 2 weeks, why not just play your wild card and at least feel a bit more comfortable with your picks and things like that. So this brings us on to our interesting question, I think, of the week. I think everybody pretty set on transfers and things like that, but captaincy, I'm presuming this is a 50-50 toss-up between Salah and Haaland for you and for me, definitely.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I don't know if I will actually have it decided until like right before the deadline, and I'm worried I go the wrong way again. But like, because I went Kane instead of Haaland, right? Like, my gut is saying Salah. I think just because how safe he is, and I think Palace looked a little bit shaky at Arsenal, and obviously they're a much more attacking team under Vieira than they were with Roy Hodgson. So I think they will be going forward. And then Liverpool, you know what they're like at home. They always score goals at home. They've got to make amends for last week as well, so there will be goals there. Something obviously that puts me off Salah is just how damn good Haaland looked against. Who they play against again? How can I forget that? West Ham. They look like their team set up to play for him, which is just perfect. Like, I do see there being goals there, but in the back of my mind, I'm just like, Pep, man, like, what's he going to do? Like, is he going to surprise us and just bench him and play Alvarez? I really don't think so. I think it's probably like a 5% chance of that. But it is also like, Bournemouth will set up to sit behind the ball. They're going to make it really hard for City. Are they going to like put 2 on Haaland or something? Like, is it going to be 0-0 at half time and then Haaland's get the second half, or he gets taken off? It's just, I don't know. There's too many questions. But it's the FOMO that's going to get me, I think, if I go for Haaland. I think it's on Salah just now. And then I don't really like the fact that Salah need to wait till Monday night, but then I'm kind of like, well, that's quite a good thing. Like, imagine Haaland does blank, or he only scores 1 goal, and you've still got that Salah captain in your back pocket for Monday night. That'd just be exciting. It's a fun pick, I think. I don't think there's often that you can have Salah your differential captain, so I'm just like, I want to, but then I don't know. We'll see. That's where I'm at now.
So I've got some interesting points just to make it even more confusing for you. So for me, what I found really interesting, the way Haaland was playing, that even if you seem to sit deep, they looked like they were getting crosses in. He almost scored a header. It looks like they're now setting up for Haaland to be penetrative against those defences that sit deep. So I think Haaland will have a field day regardless of whether Bournemouth play defensively or push forward. In fact, the bookies seem to think so as well. So I think the odds I saw on one of the bookies was like 74 for Haaland to score 2 goals. at the weekend, which is an insane price. So, yeah, I do really fancy Haaland. I think if you sit forward on him, he's just going to hit you on the break like he did against West Ham. So, I think he'll be good. I think talking 2 or 3. The other side of that argument is that Salah obviously gets, if Palace don't score, Salah obviously gets the clean sheet extra point. Yes. He's notoriously good against Palace. He's scored 7 goals and 6 assists. I think it's in like 10 or 12 games against them. So he loves a game against Palace, especially at home. So yeah, I haven't decided yet, but right now it's on Haaland, and I think I might just leave it on Haaland and leave Salah as my vice. I think, to be honest with you, it could be a toss-up 50-50. I think it's going to be fine margins again. I think regardless, I think both of them will, bang, but I think it's going to be 2 or 3 points, maybe 4 points tops between them. That's my prediction. I know I'll probably be wrong, but yeah, I think you're okay if you're comfortable with those two. That's what I'd go for. I don't think anybody else really jumps out. Maybe Gabriel Jesus, a wee bit of interest, but yeah, I think those two, play it safe. At least either of them are going to do the business and really hopefully get us the points.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's 50-50. They're both going to be similar. I think they're both going to haul. So I'm just going to leave it up to how I'm feeling on Friday, probably. So, and I'm not going to be worried about it. I think if I pick Haaland, fine. He's still going to do well. If I go with Salah, it's all good. So, in safe hands with either of them is probably the answer.
Cool. Quick last minute thoughts. The Bailey Neto chat, I know transfer wise, I wouldn't be recommending taking either of them out at the minute, but that sort of 5 million slot, is there any kind of chat about, possibly going forward, you touching them, or are you quite content to sit it out and see how Aston Villa fare against Everton, or if you were a Neto owner, how Wolves fare going forward? Would you rather sit and wait and see what happens?
If I was to get confirmation that Bailey's going to play, I'm just sharing this website because I really like it, Fantasy Football Pundit. They do their predicted lineups, and from the last couple of seasons, they are pretty spot on most weeks. There's a bit of rumours that Gerrard might switch to 2 up top, Ings and Watkins. He might be bringing in Buendia just to change things because they were so bad the weekend. So I'm going to play it by ear. If I get more comfort that Bailey's going to play, I think I want to play him against Everton. But if I get those sniffs that he's going to be on the bench, then I'll go for Andreas Pereira away to Wolves. I'm quite happy with that. If you're a Neto owner, I would be stick with him. Home against Leeds, that's a good fixture. Give him that and see what he does.
Cool. One last thought. How did you feel about Man United? Interesting to see they're going for Gakpo from PSV, who your team's playing in Europe, which should be a good sign if the Man United take one of their best players off their hands straight away. But yeah, what's your thoughts on them? I think I'll probably be avoiding them. They looked spectacularly terrible. A lot of people saying Ronaldo was probably the best player on the pitch, which says a lot for me. What do you think?
Avoid. We're kind of running out of time here as well, but that's all I would need to say about them is avoid. It's just I wouldn't trust any of their forwards or defenders now, so just wait and see. But maybe in a month's time we can have a conversation about them, but just now, not keen.
Yeah, I think if Brentford beat them, I'm going to target them going forward. Definitely, that Salah game against them looks particularly good. Definitely be captaining him that week. Okay, well, I think that's pretty much us. I think covered everything. So, yeah, thanks again for joining us. Like and subscribe, follow us on Twitter. And yeah, that's goodbye from me.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining.
Right. Cheers.